In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I eat to stay lean year round. I eat the same 4 meals every single day. I don't faff around tracking macros or eat a ton of protein bars or take a ton of supplements. And honestly, in my opinion, everyone spends way too much time thinking about how to optimize training when they'd benefit much more from finding a diet that works well for them, both from a health and physique perspective. And for context, I work a corporate office job in London, and so all my meals have to be time efficient and easy. I don't have hours like most fitness influencers to cook perfectly aesthetic meals, and honestly, if you're trying to get lean whilst being generally busy in life, that should be the least of your worries. And I'm by no means saying this is the perfect diet, but I am saying this is the approach I found easiest to execute consistently whilst working a full-time office job. The first thing you need to do is get away from these fad diets. Yes, they work in the short term, but only because a restriction usually means you're in a large deficit. And honestly, excluding entire food groups is a pretty bad idea, whether that be the carnivore diet, vegan diet, or anything that says you can't eat a certain food group. Second of all, I'd be cautious with taking an if it fits your macros approach. I did this for years when I started lifting, and you end up in a cycle of only thinking about calories and protein. It also leaves you with a ton of decision making to do 4 or 5 times a day, which just isn't realistic for guys who have a busy schedule already. So what I typically recommend is having a base diet where you have 5 or so meals you enjoy and can rotate without thinking, and simply meal prep these every few days as a non-negotiable. The reason most guys feel stuck is they're obsessing over macros, the perfect meal plan, when in reality they need to focus purely on making the process almost automatic. And these meals should be predominantly whole food based. Instead of spending money on expensive supplements, you're best off using that money to invest in higher quality meats, locally produced fruits and veg, and I typically shy away from getting most of your protein from protein bars, yogurts, and even protein shakes to some extent. Always prioritise getting your caloric requirements from whole foods, and only when life gets a little busy should we think about using more convenient snacks and supplements, but the priority should always be high quality single ingredient foods. And whilst calories and macros will be different depending on the person and their goal, there are some non-negotiables I'd recommend for anyone looking to build muscle or get lean. I'll show you a typical day of eating for me currently, and then I'll also run through how I deal with eating off plan, whether I have a client dinner that I need to go to, or perhaps I'm traveling and don't have access to a kitchen. But now let's get into the diet. What does a typical day of eating look for me? At the moment, I'm in a diet phase, so I typically try and fast for most of the morning. I'll have a black coffee at around 8 o'clock and refrain from eating until around 10:30 when I'll have my first meal, which is oats, berries, almond butter, and whey protein. Again, these meals are structured on the basis of being in the office. In an ideal world, I'd have something like eggs and sourdough in the morning, but that just isn't possible in the circumstance. For lunch, I'd have a pretty typical bodybuilding meal, so chicken, rice, avocado, and veg. You'll notice that all of these meals follow the same structure. A large serving of protein, a carb source that digests well, a small portion of healthy fats, and then either fruit or veg to top up my micronutrition needs. A hack I use with clients who find getting macros in their diet tough is simply aim to eat over 800 grams of a variety of fruit and veg a day. For most people, this will cover their needs sufficiently and is a pretty simple rule to live by. I'll usually have a small meal around 3 p.m. just to keep hunger at bay, and this will be something as simple as Greek yogurt and fruit. And then after work, I'll have my pre-workout meal, which will be the biggest of the day. It's typically cream of rice, whey, dark chocolate and berries. And typically I'll keep my carbs high around the training window to support training performance. And then after training, I have eggs, egg whites, sourdough and veg, the meal that I'd have in the morning if I wasn't in the office. Now, 95% of the time, that's exactly what I eat, but on the occasion, I will be pressed for time or going to client dinners or simply want to have an off-plan meal. In these cases, the principles remain the same. Protein dense, easily digestible and clean carb source, and plenty of micronutrition. So this could be something like a leaner cut of steak with veg and a small portion of rice, or chicken and potato. You get the picture. Ultimately, we just want to avoid the fast food type meals where we suddenly have a meal that has 100 grams of fat, 200 grams of carbs and very minimal protein. And whilst you might think that's what you're craving, I want you to remember how you actually feel after eating those types of meals. You'll probably have a ton of digestive discomfort, feel tired, want to go to sleep, and that's something we really want to avoid. The thing people overlook when they eat out is the way restaurants prepare their food. Even when on the face of it you're eating just chicken and rice, it will usually be lathered in cooking oils, different glazes, and different sauces. So on the occasion where you are eating out, it's usually sensible to add a 300 to 400 calorie buffer over what you think you're eating. And then lastly, when you are on the road and you have to resort to grab and go, we can still revert to the idea of single food choices for each macro. So even in the worst case, your meals still could look like pre-cooked chicken, a handful of rice cakes or cooked rice, and a few squares of dark chocolate for some good fats. Ultimately, staying lean year round just requires some constraint. Sure, you can bring in some flexibility, but that flexibility needs to be managed sensibly. The guys that mess up are the ones who decide to hit the self-destruct button purely because they can't eat perfectly on a certain day, and then they decide they'll start tomorrow. But the reality is, eating marginally off plan isn't going to cause huge issues. Most people are trying to solve nutrition with willpower, when in reality they just need to simplify the process. When you've already spent 9 hours making decisions at work, the last thing you need to do is make even more. The best diet often isn't the one with the most scientific optimization. It's the one that removes friction, fits your lifestyle, and allows you to execute consistently. If you found this video useful, please drop it a like and subscribe. I've also left my free course linked to my description, as usual, which shows you exactly what I do with clients to achieve elite results and breaks down training, diet, and lifestyle to fit your needs. So if you want that, you can sign up in the description, and I'll catch you in the next video.